Born to her parents Jasmine Colon Franco and Francisco Franco on what we know as the Day of Love, Valentine's Day, Margarita Marie Franco entered the world on February 14th, 1991 in New York City. From what I can see, most people refer to Margarita as Marie, so that is what I'll be referring to her as well. As a teen, Marie went to the High School of Fashion Industries, and according to her father, Marie worked within the pharmaceutical industry as a young adult. And as you can see in these photos, Marie was stunning, very beautiful girl, and everyone else thought so too, especially her boyfriend at the time, whose name is Michael Harris. From what I can tell on his social media page, he loved her dearly. And I know you can't depend on social media to know the true tea about one's life, but it also seems that her family and those close to Michael can attest to his love for her based on their accounts of Michael and Marie's relationship on social media as well. Marie seemed to be loved by everyone who knew her, actually. All the folks who lived in her neighborhood had all good things to say about her, but not necessarily about the neighborhood they lived in, which, speaking of the neighborhood, it was a little after 2 a.m. on a Sunday uptown in the Bronx on April 2nd, 2017, when police responded to a phone call that a person was laid out unconscious on the street. When police arrived, they saw the body of a young woman lying face up, bleeding out on the sidewalk in front of 761 East 214th Street near Barnes Avenue in the Williamsbridge section, within the confines of the 47th Precinct. Police had to block the street off until about 5:30 p.m. later that day to conduct their investigation. And it wasn't until later that Sunday evening when they identified the deceased young woman as 26-year-old Margarita Marie Franco. Marie died from a gunshot wound to the back of the head. She was only about a half mile away from her home. The only possessions she had on her at the time was $18 in cash and a scratch-off lottery ticket. Police didn't leave the area until approximately 6:30 p.m. A young man who lived in a neighborhood named Daniel Abreu and his wife said they were woken up by the sounds of gunshots. He said he saw about 3 men fleeing the scene and could even hear people laughing after Marie was executed. A woman named Milka Gomez said her daughter also lives in the neighborhood and she too was awakened by the sound of gunshots. Another woman named Carrie Gonzalez said she'll never be able to get the image of Marie out of her head. She said she didn't want to look out of her window to see everything, but as a mother, she just had to see for herself, and she said it was horrendous to see such a young, beautiful, well-dressed woman shot to death like that. What's crazy is the people in the neighborhood are so used to hearing gunshots ring out in that area that when they heard the commotion, no one even bothered calling police. It wasn't until people saw Marie's body on the floor that they called. I told y'all here in New York City that mind your own business mentality is practiced religiously, clearly to our own detriment. But moving forward, reporters wanted to speak with the family at the time of the murder, but they were too distraught to speak, understandably so, and they just gathered together for support while placing candles outside of where Marie's life was unfortunately taken. The evening before Marie's murder, her boyfriend Michael had gone out to a party at approximately 10 p.m. according to him, and he thought Marie was actually going to stay home that night. Police sources said Marie had also headed out that evening to link with another man, and this is known because they had found text messages between her and said man on her phone, presumably about linking up, but police didn't think he nor her boyfriend Michael had anything to do with her murder. Police spoke to the other man that she was texting, who was unnamed, and he told police that he actually did see Marie that night, but Marie departed with him at about 1 a.m. One of the reasons police believe neither Michael or the mystery man in the text could have been the ones to have murdered Marie was because on the footage, the man who shot her was quite tall as opposed to Michael and the man she was texting, who had been much shorter than the man on the footage. Investigators viewed footage showing the moment that Marie had been killed. NYPD Chief of Detectives Robert Boyce said the video of what happened to Marie was graphic. The video was described to show a man that walked up to Marie while she was on her phone. She speaks to said man. They begin to walk together, but then she walks away from him and then back towards him. But she turns her back to him at some point, and Detective Robert Boyce said that's when the man her once in the left side of the back of her head and then runs off. He said the video showed the muzzle flash at 2:17 a.m. with her time of death recorded at 2:53 a.m. Now, although police had all these details, they still couldn't understand why she was killed killed or what happened. They had no leads, no motive, no suspects, and so Marie's case had unfortunately gone cold for a while. Now, what's crazy is on Tuesday, April 11th, 2017, Marie's friends, family members, and members of the community who didn't know Marie personally but were still moved by her murder all came out to rally against gun violence, and unbeknownst to the crowd, minutes before the rally started and less than 2 miles away, a young man by the name of Stephen Hill, 19 years old, was shot up in a hail of gunfire and killed on 181st Street in the West Farm section of the Bronx. It just goes to speak to how rampant and wicked the violence rips through these New York City streets. A wanted poster was posted up asking for any information that would lead to the arrest of Marie's murderer, offering a reward of $2,500. Marie's parents, obviously torn to pieces after losing their beautiful daughter, pleaded with the public to please forget about the whole, quote unquote, no snitching thing, and to just help bring justice for Marie by identifying the suspect if they knew anything. No motives or any helpful additional details had been revealed still at that time. While fast forward to the rest of 2017 that went by, the entire 2018 went by, and most of 2019 went by. It has been 2 whole years and change before the family of Marie were to finally get any relief when on September 17th, 2019, a man named Kenneth Smith, 51 years old at the time, who resided in the Little Italy section of the Bronx, not too far from Fordham, was arrested at his home and charged with Marie's murder. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a photo or mugshot of him on this here internet. I actually saw online that they've stopped making mugshots accessible for the public and media as part of some act that was passed in 2020, at least for New York anyway. I'm not sure about other states. And his name is so generic, Kenneth Smith. All kinds of people showed up in Google Images, so I do apologize for the lack of visuals for him. Moving along though, Kenneth has a history of arrests. 17 priors to be exact, mostly all made up of drug charges. Police say that they do know Kenneth and Marie were acquainted in some fashion, but unsure exactly how they were acquainted. As to how police knew after all this time that Kenneth was the suspect, well, that isn't very clear either, based on my research. Kenneth Smith is currently being held on Rikers Island, charged with second-degree murder and criminal possession of a weapon, with a bond set at $750,000 or bail set at $250,000, and his next court date is actually coming up next month on August 22nd. I'm glad that Kenneth is finally facing consequences for his actions. However, this story has left me with so many more questions. Exactly who is Kenneth to Marie? What were the words that were exchanged between them before he killed her? And of course, why did he kill her? And especially the way that he did. And how did they know that it was him? Who told what? It seemed very calculated to me. And being that his prior arrests were all drug charges for the most part, I'm wondering, did she owe him money? Or did her man owe him money and maybe we just don't know about his acquaintance with Kenneth, making her collateral damage? And who was the other guy she was texting? And why did she leave the house to go meet him? Has she not met up with said mystery man? Would she have needed to go outside at all that night? These are all questions that I'm sure her loved ones have as well, and honestly, I'm just praying that they can at least get some clarity at the next court date if they are going to appear. It's very clear on social media how much Marie was adored by all her loved ones. You could go on Facebook and use the hashtag #BeautyIsMarie and see all the beautiful posts dedicated to her, especially her man, Michael, and her titi who goes by La Gringa Boricua Rivera on Facebook. My heart goes out to the family of Marie, to Michael, to her friends, and anyone else impacted by the sudden tragic death of Margarita Marie Franco. She would have been 32 years young this year. Rest in peace, Beauty. Gone but never forgotten.